All right, so we'll start with the outside of the boat. You can see here 51-foot Formosa. And I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can see where we had a little bit of this storm damage. Obviously, you can see the sail covers and the sails are a little bit torn up. Um, we lost 5 of our pylons. So as I get down here on the dock, I'll show you the section of the boat that was damaged. It's right here, and you can see where it chafed up along the side of the dock where the stairs were. So no holes in the fiberglass, but it's worn, needs to be sanded down and re-glassed down below the tow rail. And then above the tow rail, you can see it ripped the teak tow rail off and it damaged the fiberglass. This is about a 3-foot section right here where the lines go through to the actual cleat. So there's going to need to be work done right here. And that does mean the hull to deck joint, when it rains, some water goes down in that and goes down into the bilge, sadly. Couple of other things real quick. You can see we have put all new stainless rigging, stainless rails I mean, down the sides of it, and it is bent right here as we get just forward of the gate. So right above this section you can see the bent rail right here. That's probably the only section that's bent, along with this top rail right there. So I've just stepped aboard on deck here, and you can see the size of the deck. We had all the teak decking pulled up and had it reglassed in the yard. Frankly, we paid almost $85,000 in the yard about 2.5 years ago. Actually, probably 3.5 years ago now. And you can see I wanted to leave some wood look to it, so I left the wooden hatches, the wooden boom in the front, the butterfly hatch, and then this center hatch right here underneath that cover is also one of the wooden ones. You kind of just step even with the mast here and kind of show backwards. Again, you can see that the sail covers are pretty tattered up, and there is some spots that's worn on this sail here. The back sail still looks really good, shockingly. I'll aim down from the deck so you can see this spot here. And then we walk here to the cockpit. So now we're coming into the actual cockpit area. You can see there's actually a rear-facing winch right here. It's a good size 12-volt winch. There is no seat, but you can see the lines all right back there. There's a large bollard. Again, stainless steel railing all the way around that's good and high, hip height, so you feel really safe and secure in here. With a grill, and then you can see here the mizzen mast. And again, I wanted to leave some of the wood. So this one has a wooden boom on it. And while the sail cover's tattered, the sail is still in good shape there. Kind of come in here and turn around and show this. So here is the helm station. Ray Marine, both a master and a slave navigation. We have the autopilot down here, hydraulic autopilot, bow thruster control, rear anchor windlass, and obviously your gauges, along with gauges up here. And as we walk forward to go into the companionway, I will slide this open and then start a video going down and below. Okay, so heading down below. You see the salon. Forgive me, I have some of the seats up here just because I was trying to charge the batteries. The battery bank is absolutely dead here. But you can see the starting batteries right there. And then over on this side is the house bank. But everything appears to be completely dead there. Give me, I turned the refrigerator on yesterday. I'll turn that back off. So let's do a bit of a walk around here. So I am standing in the front of the actual galley. So you see the stairwell coming down from the companionway. Over here on this side, you have a drop-in freezer, front door refrigerator. We just have an electric stove. Obviously, this is where the stove or oven would go that gimbals. We have our countertops over here, along with a double sink right there. Standing in front of the double sink, you can see the rest of the galley here. Again, right back here is where the starter batteries are, and then the house bank is right under the seats here. That's what you see open there. I also have all the cushions in the back. I'll show those in a moment. Pretty good size. I do have You can see this little drip pan right there. I have a little bit of water coming in around that port right there, so I put a drip pan right in there. As I continue to move forward, this is not one with the lower helm driving station, so you can see the nav station right here. Again, on the upper right-hand side there, you have your 12 volt and 110 coming in. The center panel right below the generator switch to go to a shore power generator or off. You have navigation lights. To the left of that is the actual electronic panel for right here, the electronic panel for the generator, which is not starting right now. And below that, again, all of the Ray Marine navigation equipment, turning on the network item, the AIS receiver, and the navigation. And then you see the other Ray Marine right there. You can see the controller for the Xantrax. I just have it in a small little cube there. That's just the way we have ours set up. Down below you see another electrical panel. That right there is if you want to run the air conditioners. They're on a separate 30 amp circuit coming in. Now I'm going to walk backwards to stand right in front of the staircase, and you can kind of see as you come in here. By the way, the motor's right underneath these 4 panels. I'll show that in just a second. We'll just kind of do a walk through here. As you step down into the lower salon, 3 steps going down. I'm standing right now on the floor of it, and I'll just kind of go from one side to the other. So this is on the port side. The generator is right under this little cover. It's a Whisper 6500 kilowatts. So kilowatts, yeah, 6500 kilowatts. Obviously all the storage up here, small ports right there, and on the upper side over there. Did put pine ceilings in up here. And again, you have the beautiful carved doors of the Formosa. The other one on the right matches it. It's just closed right now. And as we turn and go to the starboard side, again, very similar. You can see the cabinets, the small ports along the top, the pine ceiling all the way along it. And you can see one of the air conditioner ducts right there. I never put it to a vent, so there it sits. And then the forward air conditioner is underneath that settee. And it comes a little coffee table that we've sailed with there, and it never ends up moving around. So shocking, actually. Air conditioner control right back here on this port wall and starboard wall, and then this little slide out just goes up into the sink there. I'll open up the door here, and it's going to be tight, small area. So let me go ahead and show in here. You can kind of see a couple of things. One, we have a 12 volt electrical flushing toilet with Electrosan treatment system that will automatically treat any waste and then pump it directly overboard, which is kind of nice. Small port up here, you have your little medicine cabinet, if you will, and then a small sink right here as well. And then this one also has a completely separate step-in shower. It's going to be dark in here, but you can kind of get an idea. Get a bit of an idea here. So step-in shower, there's the grate. You can actually use it as a tub. We used to bathe the 4-year-old in here. Just fill up the little tub and she would take a little bath. Shelf over there, nice storage for towels and whatnot. And then obviously a shower curtain with the shower right back in there. All right, we'll back out of that. All right, let's step into this mid berth here. So this is the mid berth, and you can see here you've got the 3 drawers in the front, a hanging locker, 2 more drawers, and another hanging locker back here. You have this bed's a little wider than a single, not quite a double. You can see a little dust in here. This also pulls out, and it will all open up to a double right there. And then there's storage doors underneath. You can see right here, I do have a small piece of rot underneath this panel right here. And that's just where the floor was damaged, and I haven't replaced it yet, so I just have a piece of plywood sitting there. A couple of small shelves here, and then we'll move forward into the V-berth. So coming into the V-berth, we'll talk about what needs to be done here in just a second, but you have 2 sets of bunk beds here. Each one is a single bed. You can see there's a port right up there. I started to pull the the plywood cover off of the inside here just to redo that, and have not gotten to that section yet. On the left-hand side is a built-in desk. So you can see a couple of desk drawers and a desk the whole way over. I used to use this sort of as my office, if you will. And I did the same thing on the bottom here. I pulled this piece of plywood off of that
That's the inside of the hull you see right there, and solid hardwood sort of beams. The idea was I was going to do pine slats all throughout here as well. This is where the floor is, and the bow thruster is right underneath here. There's the bow thruster, 12-volt DC bow thruster, and full hanging locker right here. This is actually a pretty deep hanging locker. If I step inside, you can see just how far it goes back over here. And yeah, my kids, girls just want to have fun sign is still up. So a couple things that still need to be done in here. You can see with the ceiling, I have the insulation put in here. Right there's insulation, and the insulative tape that goes on the other side to help reflect some of the heat up. And this is also where the second companionway is, that's up at the bow. You can see this small electrical connection here. That is to plug in the controls for the anchor windlass, and I also have remote controls for it, so you can use it either way. And then obviously right up in here we have our chain locker. Go aft into the aft stateroom, and forgive me, I have not cleaned up or anything else in here. This is just the way the boat was sitting behind our house. As I go through the salon, through the galley, we'll go to the master stateroom, which is just aft here. And forgive me, I have a bunch of stuff here on the bed. I'm going to step in and move over to the port side. Okay, on this side, there's another air conditioner right down in here. This runs the AC in the rear. And that is not coming on. For whatever reason, it's not powering on right now, and I don't know the reason why. I haven't even looked at it. 2 ports over there. Obviously, you have the rear stateroom. One of the things I love is these back windows that look right out the back of the boat. I'll show you here in a second. See if this will actually focus out there, because to me, it's one of the best things about this boat. Once you look out of it, you see the water right out behind us, which is just phenomenal. All right, and I mentioned I had the cushions. By the way, there's one of the cushions for the galley, and here's the other 2. As I go to the right-hand side, now this bed does not have a lot of headroom. That's one thing about these, but that's just the way these boats were designed on the aft cockpit versions. This is easily bigger than a queen-size bed. My wife and I fit in here just fine with both of us and have plenty of space. And on this side, we have another port, and we have a TV on mounted on a wall there that we used to use. Now, there's also the rear head right back here. Now, I pulled the head out of this, left the sink, but we would just use the forward head with the macerating pump that's hooked to the electrosand. It just seemed to be a little bit easier. This was a great place for storing any kind of wet articles you needed to store, foulies or whatever. So you can see that's where the head was, and it has been removed. Now we'll go back into the galley. And there you go. From the doorway, you can kind of see what the galley looks like looking forward, right down into the lower salon. And you can see that little white trash can in the center. That's sitting just aft of the mast in the mid-berth stateroom. So let me talk about the things that this boat's definitely going to need. I mentioned the stuff outside, right? The rash along the side of the boat, the top of the tow rail that's going to have to be repaired where the cleat is, the sail covers, the forward sail. Most of the running rigging we replaced 4 years ago or so. The items that are not used for actually hauling the sails, for example, the ones that you drop the sails down into, those are pretty tattered up. The small lines for our flags are all tattered up. Matter of fact, one's broken, dangling up there, so it's kind of sometimes go to the first spreader and get that. All in all, outside, not horrible, right? Like that stuff needs to be repaired, but you can do it sort of at your leisure. The bigger issue has to do with the fact that the motor's not starting. During the storm, I think all that fiberglass and garbage that where the boat was damaged on the top side there, I think that washed down into the bilge. It clogged both of our primary and secondary bilge pumps, but they probably continued to run. So it ruined the bilge pumps and it killed all of our batteries. We had left it on both, so it killed the engine battery as well as the house battery. I've tried starting the engine with my 30 amp boost charger. I don't want to go buy batteries for it to test it, right? Given that the boat is what it is right now. So it's not running. It's not starting right now. I do not think it was seized. We definitely had a lot of water in the bilge, and I'll show that in a second. But it only got to the bottom of the oil pan, and the way this engine sits in there means it was away from everything else. But there was a lot of moisture that was very close to it. So did it do any damage? I don't think so. I just don't know. I'll show the engine in just a minute. So I think at this stage, the boat is probably still a great deal, but boy, they have to speak to your heart, right? This Formosas are a lot of work. If you love, you know, I affectionately call them the leaky tikis or the Taiwan turkeys, right? A Vagabond, a Formosa, right? There's a couple of those boats. They have amazingly beautiful lines, and that's why we fell in love with them, this Bill Garden sort of design. But the reality is, you've got to love this kind of boat, because even when it doesn't need work from the storm, it needs continuous maintenance, and that's just part of boat ownership. If you're looking for a boat, you likely know that. I'll share with you that we put almost $200,000 into this boat over the last 7 years, and we're looking at selling it for what it is. At this stage, I don't want to redo this work. I refitted this boat. We did so much work on it. You know, all new PEX plumbing lines, for example, all the deck work, all that stainless steel railing around the top, you know, new through hulls. Like, we did so much work to this thing. I don't have the energy to do it a second time. I hate to say it. So that's the reality of the boat. I'll show you the engine. I want you to see that as well. All right, the engine is right under these panels here. I'm gonna stand right over by that circular cutout on the top center of your screen after I open these up, and I'll show you down in there. So there we go. We got a Ford Lehman 120 horsepower, 6-cylinder inline diesel. It has an aqua drive in the back, which is basically just a set of U-joints that connect up to this coupler. It allows you to not have to worry about lining the engine up as well to the prop shaft. I want to show you the water that's down below here as well. So you can kind of see this. I'll get down on my hands and knees and put my phone down into the engine room a little bit. You can see there's 18 inches or so of water down in the bilge right now. And you can see just below the flywheel, there's the oil pan. So right after the storm, it was just up, barely touching the bottom of that oil pan. That's the lowest part on the whole engine. It was not over the oil pan, just touching the bottom of it. So I think everything's probably fine there, but I just don't know for sure. I had new motor mounts put on it, maybe in the last year or so. And I had it running maybe 2 weeks prior to the storm. So let's call that, I guess the storm was end of August, so let's call it mid-August. That was the last time she was run. A couple of other things. Right over here we do have a Filter Boss diesel set of dual filters. There's 3 fuel tanks, so you've got number 2 right there, and you can see the 2 cutoffs on top of them. Every fuel tank has the return and the draw, both with its own valve on it. And then here's the coupling system for the entire fuel system. I had all this redone in the yard by them, so that work was done. And then there's another fuel tank right under here, and one in the center of the lower salon down there. As you look through this house bank here of batteries, again, the starter batteries are in the back there, and 6 of these T105 Trojan style 6-volt batteries, you know, run in series and parallel. It gives us into 660 amp hours, if you will. And all of that connected up to some fusing, and then we have our battery banks here as well. Went ahead and closed it up and put the cushions back down on them. Heck, it even has this remote control auto charging connector for the autopilot, which is really nice. Right around your neck up top and all set to go. All right, with that, there's the nickel tour, and we'll head on back out. Yeah, onto the deck and onto the cockpit right back here. Oh, by the way, there's a hanging boarding ladder. You can put it on either side because these gates do open right there. One other thing to note, when I had these, this nylon or these stainless rails done, I actually had them not only cut holes in these, but actually weld a small rod right through it so it doesn't chafe the lines. All you gotta do is put the stainless steel rigging on them. There's one line back here above this raised tow rail and 2 openings for each of these. As you can see in that one right there, there's the upper one and lower one. And my deflated West Marine dinghy comes with it. And with that, we'll hop off of her, just walk right around the cockpit, up the port deck, and out my opening here. Again, you can just see the size of her. You can also see it does have a roller furling for the jib, and I have the jib. I pulled it off before the storm just because I didn't want that to come apart. I wish I'd have pulled them all off, but I did not.